Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm going to show you one or two things about a setup that I've created in the last 2 decades, roughly. It's a number of eponymous instruments that I've created together with friends and colleagues at STEIM in Amsterdam. An eponymous instrument is an instrument that you partially design yourself and you make it your own. Making your own meaning that you learn to play it. Make it yourself means that you may do scripting, the drafting, you make physical objects, you make some very old-fashioned physical objects, make some very fancy physical objects, or you appropriate different types of interfaces like this one I just showed you, which is a wolf pad, also from the 2000s, which was made for gamers. The game industry has been a fantastic community to find tools and toys that you can reappropriate yourself. I have a number of them here. I make music with that because I like to manipulate real-time sound that I pre-prepared or that I make on the fly. I use live microphones, I use traditional instruments connected to local paraphernalia, like this bell here stuck to a very beautiful cymbal. Use other toys that you find on your travels through Tibetan parts of China, or devices that come your way. I call it my magic garden, my garden of dream. I'm going to do a little demonstration of one or two of my eponymous instrument setups. I run 2 computers. One of them runs about 8 different applications. Some of them we made at STEIM from 1994 until 2012. One of them is called LISA. It stands for live sampling. It means you can play things. Pre-prepared at this moment. And then as live sampling also stands for live sampling. So there is a strategy of how to use sounds that I find, which I've brought with me usually, including bottlers. Right, let's see whether these bottlers also make some other sounds maybe. There you go. Or you go on travel and you take in-flight devices to be demonstrated in another way. Okay. Yeah, that's also what you get. Feedback is what you get very often. I have no idea where it comes from. The paradigm of using live electronics on stage was well explained by 2 fantastic composer thinkers and performers, Bobo Sutaka, who experimented a lot with live electronics, and George Lewis, who thought that failure is part of the paradigm of doing live electronics on stage. So there is these days very little of that, coming to think of it. So what I have here is a number of instruments that use an idea that I call the Blade Runner. The Blade Runner because it's sharp and it's very slavishly laid back. Sharp because when it needs to be sharp, like for instance now, spot on. It's sharp. You recognize the sound from a moment ago, which was the little cymbal hanging here. And when it's slavishly, then I use capsules. I call them capsules because they're encapsulated 60-second sound samples. And I navigate them with a keyboard of 120 keys here, so that's from the beginning to the end. And then because I have a couple of buttons underneath it, right, there is a way of doing polyphony.
We're all here to go. We're here to go. This space. We're here to go.
And then there is a added complexity. And by complexity I mean something I can revisit and something that I can rediscover. So there is two layers, it's like a brain, it's two layers of sounds that can live next to each other. And to go into details, I will do that in another podcast. But this is a little touch on how to manipulate two different streams of sounds that can change on the fly. Same metaphor can transform. So this is from here. Can transform. And most of all, have a means of expressively. You don't hear this right now, but it moves the sound around in the space. It adds another one in there, and
Shortwave of the world.
William Burroughs visits as well, right? While William Burroughs is still here. So the idea of these instruments is to be able to be very expressive, to be very quick, a little bit virtuosic if one actually practices with that, and at the same time be having fun, right? I have a couple of other instruments on the table, which I will speak to you guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen. I have a couple of other instruments which I will explain at another time. There are also the analog devices, which is a derivative of a crackle box. I call it the Crackle Scorpion. This is a little bit of an add-on. I use these devices both as instruments to play with and to generate extra sounds. I have another one here, which I will have to pick up. Again, it's a crackle box. It's a vintage instrument from the early 70s, designed by Michel Weisfish, that lets you play highly expressive sounds in an intuitive manner without necessarily having a very clear device of repeatability. And so of course it gets hacked, it gets developed. There is a little means of using light to it. So it gets very quickly chaotic. So right, I've given you a little bit of an introduction, a sort of a tease preview of some of the devices that I have on my table to make music. So I'm using these to make a 15 to 18 minute long performance piece that I've been developing in the last 2 years. I got a commission to do this for the Investeringsfonds from Holland. And I'm recreating the piece that I made on the fly, I would say, in 2019, just before the pandemic. So I've given you a little preview, a little peek preview of some of the eponymous instruments that I have on the table. I'm using these instruments and these performance devices to make a 15 to 20 minutes, two pieces. One piece based on a day experience of harsh realities, and one based on soft, magic, yet mysterious night experiences. Thank you.